And hello everyone, welcome to the Trekyards Mission Briefing, your weekly Wednesday dose of Star Trek goodness. We look at any ship from any point of the big Trek multiverse. It could be mirror, it could be alternate, it could be parallel, it could be divergent, it could be Allegiant, it could be that's a book series.
Animated.
It could be animated. Yes, and we are continuing our animated month looking at some of those really different ships from the animated series. So Stuart, you are the guy of these ships. So what ship are we looking at? And let's go into the episode.
Today we're looking at a pretty interesting design, actually. This design was first seen in the season 2 premiere, so episode 1 of season 2, called the Pirates of Orion. So we're looking at an Orion ship, an Orion pirate ship, and we've seen them in Enterprise, but this one's got a very distinct look.
I didn't even know there was 2 seasons of the animated. I thought there was only 1 season of the animated.
No, there's 2.
Huh.
Year 4 and 5 of the 5-year mission.
Oh. With only 13 episodes per, though, wasn't it? Something a lesser amount, or 10?
Yeah, something like that.
Huh. Well, there you go. Learn something every day. Okay, cool. So the big season opener to set the scene. Okay, so like you said, we saw the Orion Interceptor in Enterprise, and it's winged. It's got wings, to be fair. Has that going for it. It's also green for some reason, but I guess Orions are green. This is before we knew Orion slave girls, so we knew they were a green race. Not that necessarily defaults to the colour of the ship. But sorry, I'm rambling. So Stuart, you didn't watch this in the first run. We know that because you told us in previous weeks. But what was your first take on this ship, and what do you think now?
It's very alien-looking design, but I get more of an insectoid kind of, or an insectoid race rather than like a humanoid race from this design. It looks like an insect. It's got little pinchers on the front, little wings. But that's one thing I really love, and I've said this before about the animated series, is the fact that they could put so much diversity into the alien ships and the alien species because it is animated, and they weren't restricted by physical costumes and physical models. So I think it's a really cool looking ship, and I don't know if it really follows the Orion aesthetic based on Enterprise, but Enterprise did come after this,
and it was
this
like
wasn't considered canon.
80 years in between, so a long time to evolve.
True.
And
So what do you think of the ship design at first glance, though?
Well, it is worth saying that the Orions weren't pirates in the same way back then. It was more of an established slave trade. Now you call them Orion Pirates, so it's a bit, more of a piratey ship. Which actually, ironically, this looks very similar to a pirate ship we saw in TNG with the similar pincers. There wasn't an Orion ship; it was just alien, and it was when Picard was pretending to be Galen, I think was his name. This ship, yeah. So I certainly get the more insectoid vibe. I see it as more of a bat. Honestly, I could see this being a Riemann ship. It's very similar to the Scimitar. In terms of style, if not substance. So you're looking at like a smaller Riemann frigate. I could see this being. I'm not going to say it's like a TOS version because we only really associate TOS with the smooth and the circles of the Constitution class. Doesn't reflect everything else. There's no reason to assume that links. It doesn't feel instinctively Star Trek, but it does tie into a couple of shapes that we've seen. But as a pure design, I think it's quite interesting. I like the different levels. I'm intrigued by a lot of it. It has a familiar deflector dish. It potentially has warp engines if you look at those little yellow bits, but it has no windows. But are they window? It intrigues me.
It's a tough one, and the thing is, there's no size scale for this one as far as scale chart goes.
Yes.
Much like some of the other animated ones we've had. But if you go to the next picture, you got a shot of the Enterprise in the foreground, and it in the background, and it seems to be quite a massively huge ship. Compared to the Enterprise in scale.
Yeah, my assumption was that it was a bigger ship.
Automatically I assume smaller, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but from this shot, I even though obviously got lens distortion and whatnot, I do see this as a bigger ship. Now, maybe not in terms of, as in the Orion, maybe not in terms of depth, but in terms of broadness and potentially decks at its highest point. Like, it has a more, just like the Scimitar, has a more outbearing personality. It has those bigger pieces, but obviously might have less area inside of it. But so you think smaller ship?
Yeah, I thought smaller initially until I saw this, and it looks quite big
Right.
compared to the Enterprise. Now, a lot of it is wing protrusions and things that I'm sure have no useful space within them. They're more for technology. So the main bulk of it is that center part. And since the Orions are pirates, and they actually hijack a shipment of a drug that the Enterprise needs to help Spock in this episode.
Right.
So they probably have a lot of cargo room, much like the Ferengi would. So that main bulk of that body would be probably cargo facilities and maybe a brig. You know, got a lot of Orion slave women down there to trade for whatever, right?
Yeah, always useful.
Yes. So I see it's got a pretty big internal volume, but I think a lot of those wing protrusions and things are just technology. There would be no like livable space in those. So
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Now, a good pirate ship, what you really need is a lot of offensive.
flag,
What?
a flag. No, a naked woman on the front. No, cannons.
Yes.
I'll be quiet now.
Okay. No. Yeah. No. You need a lot of abrupt, powerful weapons, for a first strike, because you're not, going to sidle up to somebody. You're pirating. You're attacking them head on, sneakily or something, or you're running away. So a lot of front-firing weapons, a lot of cargo space to not only deal with what you might take from the ship, but to take multiple, cargoes on board. So I do see this as like a Predator almost. It has that sort of feel. It's going to come in, fire everything it's got. As Nero would say, fire everything. I'm not going to shout it like he did because I'm
Fire everything.
Thank you. And then near the aft cargo space. But if you go back to the first picture again, 'cause it's a clearer view. Those two protrusions from the wings. Do you think they are the warp engines? Do you think they are disruptors? What do you think?
They might be a combination of both. I would assume that they are the warp nacelles. Maybe they have the propulsion section at the back, but the front parts are either Bizarre collectors like the Enterprise glowing element, or they could be weapons. You could channel the weapons through the engines, as they do later. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that really interests me about this ship design is those claws, those pinchers at the bottom. Now, because it's a pirate, I'm thinking that those might actually clamp onto a ship in conjunction with tractor beams, and then they can withdraw cargo and stuff using transporters because it's clamped on underneath their ship. So maybe damage the ship with weapons, go and use those as clamps. And it speaks to the pirate kind of vibe, because that's what you do. You attack, and then you board, or at least take the booty, as they say, off. So do you get the same kind of vibe from those, like kind of clamps?
Well, I love that strategy there. And one thing about transporters is that you can and can't transport through your own shields. But in this fictional confrontation, you would attack an innocent ship, disable it, but maybe they have internal guards, they might have hull plating like in the XO1. So yeah, if you imagine it pincers in, locks it, and because they've got dedicated transporter emitters on the bottom of the ship, they can, rather than just guessing where stuff is, they can really hone that power because it's so close to do, breaking through whatever interference they might have, rather than doing, a single person beaming. They can just beam an entire cargo bay worth of stuff because it's that close. They're focusing, so they can just literally steal everything from without even having to go onto the enemy ship. So that's a wonderful strategy, and takes away that distance disadvantage, as transporters do have limitations. Yeah. Or even it comes in and I mean, it makes sense that they're polarized with some energy that lets them slice through something. So you can imagine Fire's Disruptors comes in, slices through part of the hull. I mean, that's a very visceral weapon, and obviously we don't really know much about the Orion culture to say if that makes sense. I mean, slavery is a very barbaric thing, so you could argue maybe they use knived weapons as well, and they put that into their ship designs. Whichever, no idea. But so, I mean, if you look at the Orion ship, the Orion Interceptor from Enterprise, you could argue it looks like a bird. It has a bird-ish motif. Yeah. So it there is some precedent for animals, for visceral shapes, for the idea of organically stabbing, and there is something there to that. So maybe, no, I like it. So
and that speaks to this either bat-like or insect-like design as well. So
No, it's very.
It could also be the two pincers generate some kind of energy and focus it in the middle to create some kind of weapon or something as well.
Or just go straight to the deflector and fires via the deflector, as the Romulans do. The Pterodactyls, as we know.
One interesting thing I really want to point out on this is there's a visible sensor dish, just like the Enterprise is on the front, oval shaped, which I like. I like the incorporation of that, especially for the time period. I can see them actually physically doing that on one of the models in the 60s.
Oh, they could build this. This would be a great... I'd love to have seen their take on this. That'd been great.
Yeah. But if we go to the next picture, this is a shot, it's from StarTrekAnimated.com, where they basically do like comic versions of the animated series, so new adventures and stuff. So this is kind of speculation, I guess, as to how the back of the ship would look. But
I mean, you can see this part in the previous picture. They just added the absolute aft of it. Huh.
And it looks to me like that's where all the creature comforts would be, where all the crew quarters would be. The front part of the ship looks very much business.
Okay.
It's all technical, mechanical, but the back part looks like a luxury liner almost. Big windows, or those are probably impulse engines at the back there. But it looks very safe and it doesn't look as aggressive as the front by any means.
See, I would have said the opposite. I would have said this is like a cargo, a trucker. It has the cargo in a big pod at the back, and it can eject it if it needs to.
That's interesting, yeah. I know.
Because then you've got the attack ship, and you can maybe even put several together if need be. What's interesting about this picture is that it looks like a chicken. Having the pincers down on the wings, it looks like a chicken. And it changes the feel of the ship a bit to an actual bird. And I can't say I'm overly thrilled by that part of it, but I do like the extrapolation of the aft pod. Impulse engine could be there. It's a chicken, man. I don't want to look at this picture anymore.
Well, fine. You want to see a nicer picture? Let's go to the next picture. And this is a great 3D or a CGI rendering of the ship as it might appear in something more modern.
That's different. Huh.
And again, it's got its aggressive nature back in this picture.
Can I throw you back to the first picture again for a second?
No. Yes, you can.
Just to ask the question, what do you think those lights are? The two beams on either side and in the middle triangle. They're not windows. That's fair to say.
Could be a deflector system of some sort.
Yeah.
But then we got the sensor dish, the deflector dish.
They're clearly just cool. I mean, they works really well. They're clearly glowing elements just for the sake of it. But I'm trying to think what they could be. You could maybe the side ones are like the warp coil in a sense. But energy transfer. So that's the main energy transfer conduit. But then why do you show it out? And then maybe the middle bit is a bridge dome, but it's just multiple levels and happens to be glowing because it's also I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the idea of that. I like the fact that the longer ones could be the replacement, or something on a Federation ship that equals it would be the blue glow along the nacelles. And those feed up into the nacelles, which are up there, providing the power. I like that idea. And to have them on the front of the ship is a definite cool idea that's never really been seen before.
Can I throw something out to you? A little radical, but also not really.
Right.
Okay. This is not necessarily a pirate style, but it would make some maybe sense. What if those longer blue elements, yellow? What if they're actually the Basards? They put in the stellar matter. The two glowing bits on either chunk of the wing parts. They're the weapons, but the engines are still inside the wings. The Basards are designed to actually take in all matter. So, for example, you could go into an asteroid field with zinc or gold, and part of the ship's thing is to actually reconstitute stellar matter, and then be able to sell that along with other booty.
Yeah, I can see them collecting natural resources and things like that.
So not just for the ship, but to also remold into minerals, because maybe even to make fake jewels. I mean, you see the Ferengi stealing lots of stuff, but what if they can then make 3 clones of them, without replicators obviously, because I'm sure you can tell the difference, and then they go and sell them all. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
It's interesting. Yeah, I can see them doing that too to supplement their income. I mean, And plus, when you're a pirate, you usually trade things with other pirates and things. You do a lot of time just take what you want, but there are opportunities to trade. Hence the slave girls, hence elements like you would collect with those.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there. Bit of a long shot. But I just wanted to talk about those before we get to this last picture. The CG one, yeah, very, very different. What do you think about this reinvention?
I think it's great. I'm zoomed in on it right now, and to see some of the details really works for me. This makes the design a little bit more realistic to me. The animated one always seemed kind of strange. It's like, who would build that? Why?
The Orion, Stuart.
I know, right? But yeah, I really like this CG version of it, and I think it adds a realism to it that I really appreciate.
So it looks like a Power Ranger.
Okay.
And if you added a head to it, that would be the middle bit as well. So it's changed your perception a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that totally just made it look totally different to me now. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. But make it look again like the TNG ship that was fighting. Yeah. It's I like it. It looks like a Power Ranger. It's difficult. I don't know. It doesn't. It looks like a toy now. I mean, because I'm trying to work out what the different elements are. It changes how they feel. I'm trying to retcon what they might be. I kind of prefer the deflector when it's so subtle in the previous one, and the pincers are now clearly behind everything else, which limits their effectiveness a bit. Whereas in the previous one, you can always say they're in front. I don't know. It's a very intriguing design.
Yeah. That's why I added it to this lineup, because I thought it was one of the more unique Star Trek animated ships. But yeah, there you have it, guys. Not much to really discuss left with it, I don't think. What do you guys think? Does it look like a Power Ranger neck guard and shoulder piece? I don't know. I never really watched Power Rangers, but I can definitely see what you're talking about.
Mighty Morphing Orions, go!
Jesus. All right, well... so yeah, I think that's it. Your final thoughts on this ship, Samuel?
I honestly, it's cool, but we really need to see the designer, get his thoughts, and then develop it in 3D. Like this is a ship that is somehow still a blank canvas. Then even though it's almost fully there, to take these shapes, make it really work, it could be a phenomenal design. But it's not there yet. But it's also not silly. So it's a really interesting between, and I think you could do a lot with it.
Do you think it's one of the Orion fleet ships, or do you think it's literally a pirate ship? It is literally a ship that...
Oh, it's a pirate. Yeah, it's not a fleet ship. Yeah, it's a unique sort of built its own built their own or combined things. Yeah, I think it's a...
That kind of maintains the whole Enterprise aesthetic as far as the Federation fleet ship designs would look in color schemes.
Yeah.
Because I can see this being the same thing. I totally agree with that. That it's a one-off pirate ship. So could even be alien technology that they procured.
Yeah, or pirated maybe.
But piracy's a crime, guys. So if you want to help us out financially, because instead of watching this for free and being pirates, I'm just kidding, you can head on over to trekyards.com and click the big donate button if you have a one-time contribution, $10, $20, whatever. Or if you want to help us on a monthly basis with Patreon, you can definitely do that as well. Patreon/Trekyards. And once we hit our goals for that, we can release more regular content, which we do a lot of. And also help our Fleet Yards channel as well with Fleet Yards specials. So consider that, guys.
But if you can't afford to help us out financially, even $5 a month would make a great deal. You can just share this show, because it's all about word of mouth, and that won't really happen unless you share. So if you love the animated show or any Trekyards content, please share on your Facebook or Twitter on anything. And if you want to subscribe, please do. Then you'll be notified whenever content comes out there. Only if you press that little bell notification, then you will know when we come out with an episode. Kind of every day, but you can mix and match. They're all good, but pick and choose. We're a buffet of amazing sci-fi geek content.
And you don't want to miss anything. I mean, you might want to miss some things, but you want to see everything we release, because some things you'll be interested in, some might not. But anyway, don't miss out, guys. But I think that's it for this mission briefing. So thank you very much for joining us, guys. Thank you, Samuel, for your opinions on the animated series.
I didn't remember this one at all, so it was fun.
Yeah, I love sharing new stuff with people, and it was really fun. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Connor Collins.
Stay animated, everyone.
Bye, guys.
I did that.